What's up, my good people of the internet? Happy to be hanging out here when I am Eastern time and inside of monpauspopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We have the opportunity today to start off your week as we always do with DT and Murphy. Murph hanging out with me picture in picture as we discuss Major League Baseball's run toward the playoffs. Those races are getting tight. They continue to come down to the wire. Some of these may be the last game, the last series. So very excited about what's going on in baseball. We'll discuss that. We'll also jump into the NFL, speak on his Jets quarterback opportunities, who are some of the guys that may come in to play quarterback for the New York Jets. And if we look back, and they wanted Tom Brady a while back. Remember allegedly the Tom Brady conversation? Well, if they went Brady and not Rodgers, what would they have looked like right now? We could discuss that as well as some of the other quarterbacks that could be making sense going on to the Jets. And we'll speak about my time to regroup for the Jaguars. I wrote an article called exactly that yesterday from being in Florida at the game there at Everbank Stadium as the Jaguars dropped their sixth in a row to Houston at home. So they have lost 6 games to the Houston Texans at home, and that 6-game losing streak at home within the confines of their own walls started on my birthday, October 21st, 2018, which I really do not appreciate. So we'll discuss all of that, and then we'll get into sports cards. Murph's going to unveil some things. I'm going to unveil some things. Some Syracuse fans are going to get really excited about one thing I have here for sure, and we'll have a good time. Then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be joined live picture-in-picture for another opportunity to speak with the Alfred University Saxons in our bi-monthly segment with their president, Mark Zupan, who will be joining me to speak on the College of Business. And business is an everyday part of my life as I run Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, so I'm very, very much looking forward to conversation on the College of Business and what Alfred University is doing to set you up for your future. So, with all that being said, thanks for hanging out on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, also known as X now, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and of course for being with us all throughout the world on all of our live feeds on YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT, Facebook.com/Wake Up Call DT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected to us, we thank you so much for being a part of the show, and it's time for DT and Murphy. Murph, how we doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. It was a unfortunate football Sunday for my Jets, but we'll get into that. Um, had a fun day. Got picked up some cool stuff that I know you're gonna like. I hope you didn't cheat and look at my Instagram because I did post the stuff on Instagram.
I did not.
Um, so good. So then you'll be surprised when you see it.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of things that I would say I am. One of them is not a cheater. So I do not look at any of this stuff. And I was thinking about it too because the baseball side of what I have some baseball, some football. I did a show about the baseball stuff, but I didn't post the still shot pictures of it. So I was thinking about that too. That you haven't seen that more than likely unless you went through the entire video. So that's a
Yeah.
good part too. So we get to truly unveil these to you, the world, and obviously to each other. So I'm excited to do it. I want to start in baseball as we're kind of dwindling down here the days that baseball is having its regular season. Just a few games left to go, and the playoff hunt is very much alive for many teams. What I love about this is once again, I mean, I've said it before that I thought baseball's season was too long, because and being who are watching the Diamondbacks, they'll have a good first half of the season for a team or vice versa. So I said, what's the point of having this when they look like such a good team? And then, obviously they don't carry. See how my team's doing toward the end. I've become more and more of a baseball fan, so I'm paying more and more attention, and I'm in it from the beginning. Where the Orioles have been in it from the beginning with the Tampa Bay Rays, they both have held serve, and they continue to move forward here. And, now we still have, if we look in the American League, and we'll start there, Baltimore doing what they've done in the AL East to take over and head to take care of business and do what they needed to do with Tampa. Tampa's in as a wild card team. Baltimore is leading that division, and then the Texas Rangers have now grown to be the leader again in the American League West. They started the season as the leader, and then you're looking at Houston. Seattle's tried to do some things. It's back to Texas, and the Minnesota Twins have locked up their division in the Central. Still alive here in the hunt are the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League, the Houston Astros, the Seattle Mariners are all within. Seattle's a half a game out, Houston's in, Toronto's in, and they're a couple games above the Houston Astros. But Houston and Texas are fighting for who's going to win the division and who's going to get in the wild card. Your thoughts on the American League so far?
I want to start with the American League Central.
Okay.
The Twins are going to be in the playoffs. Like they are going to be one of the worst playoff teams I've seen in recent memory, simply because they were the best team out of a division of teams that were not trying to win.
Yeah.
The Guardians were not trying to win. The Royals were not trying to win. The Rangers or the White Sox were not trying to win. The division was terrible. They just lucked out at the deadline where they did absolutely nothing. They decide, oh, they're gonna win. We're gonna win the division. Yeah. We didn't do anything. We're just gonna win the division because no one else is trying. Not that hard. Although I will say that does make them a kind of a scary team going into the playoffs because they barely had to try the second half.
Yeah,
they're just gonna put their foot on the gas pedal right now. I'm not gonna say they're gonna make a run. With their playoff luck, they're probably gonna get bounced in the first round. Not all that well constructed. Correa's been up and down this year since they finally re-signed him. The injuries that the Giants and the Mets were worried about with him have seemingly come true. So that's definitely making things difficult. Out in the West, I mean, you got a 3-team race for that division right now, which is actually quite amazing.
Yeah.
Texas has retaken the division lead. Kind of surprisingly, too. I haven't been paying as much attention as I'd like to. They're 6-4 in their last 10, partly because the Mets stink, Yankees stink. I got absolutely no reason to watch it at the moment. Obviously, I'll start watching it again once the playoffs start. The thing happened. I'm not going to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, that American League West is going to be a fun division. So is the East.
What happened? Murph Jameis Winston came out and threw for 100 yards?
Nope, not going to say it. So American League West, I think it comes down to, actually it could be any of these 3 teams, realistically. I mean, Texas plays the Mariners for 4 games to close out the season. That could be interesting, even though they did just sweep them.
Yeah.
So Texas retook the division lead. They've won 5 out of their last 6. And they have the Angels for 3, and then they go to Seattle to close out the season. As for Houston, they play the Mariners and then the Diamondbacks. That is going to be a very interesting close to the season in that division.
Yeah.
All 3 teams are playing each other. Well, Houston isn't playing the Rangers, but the Mariners are playing the Rangers and the Astros. So if the Mariners want to win that division, they got to take care of business. It's kind of in their hands right now. They take care of business with Houston and they take care of business with the Rangers, they could easily win that division. I don't know who the heck's going to win that division right now. It could go anywhere, but as for the American League East, it's all but over. The Orioles play the Nationals and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
They win 4 games, they win the division.
Yeah.
And they're automatically going to be the top seed in the American League. And then the Rays, who will have the second most wins in the American League, will be the 4th seed, which is going to be quite interesting. But they're going to get to play the second wild card team, which could be Houston, which could be Seattle. We don't know yet. It could be Toronto. Don't know yet. We'll have to see. As of right now, it's Toronto, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But the American League race is coming up. It's tight, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with it.
Yeah, I mean, in the American League, I mean, there's been so much focus, I think, looking at the National League, because there's so many teams that are involved in kind of just flip flopping with each other and taking a spot and flipping and taking another spot, that there was an emphasis on, okay, what's going to happen in the National League. But in the American League now that that's arisen, even control, they lost control. Then Houston had control. Then this has control, kind of. And so, to me, that's really made for a fun end to all of this, because of the fact that we kind of thought in the beginning of the season, all right, the Rangers are going to take this thing, and then the Astros, you can never count them out. So it's like, okay, well, they're probably going to make a run at some point. But then who thought Seattle was going to be where they were, to make that such an interesting come down to the wire type of race at this point? And then, like you spoke about in the Central, that division that you kind of just are like, someone's got to win it, right? Somebody's got to take it. Like you were talking about, someone's going to have to win this division. Someone's going to have to, go into the playoffs with that. The thing that's crazy, though, is because of the way that the playoffs are set up, whoever wins that division, you're in the top 3 seats. So, there could be better teams.
They're going to be the
there.
2 seed.
What'd you say?
That team's going to be the 2 seed. They're going to get a first round bye. That's sad.
Well, Minnesota, right? Well, they're what are they right now? They're the 3.
Yeah, it's Minnesota. Minnesota's not getting it. Minnesota's going to be the 3. It's going to be the worst division winner.
But
so they're gonna play the first wild card team. They're gonna probably or the third wild card team. So they're gonna end up playing whoever gets that third spot. But realistically, whoever wins the West is gonna have a bye into the division series, which I'm still getting used to as a fan. This is still really, really strange.
Yeah.
But they'll get the bye into the division series if they win the division. Whoever wins the West.
Well, yeah, and when we look at it and see how this thing, starts to shape out here as it currently stands, and I'm looking at the postseason picture right now with the Orioles. The Orioles, if it happened today, the Orioles would play the winner of the Tampa Bay Rays Toronto Blue Jays series, which would be very enticing there, as Tampa, the 4, like you said, would play the 5, and the 5 right now is Toronto. In the 2 seed, Texas Rangers would play the winner of the Houston Astros and Minnesota Twins, and so that is another.
They'd play the Astros. Let's just save it. They'd play the Astros.
No, I agree.
They're not playing Minnesota.
I agree. And then so that's what we'd be looking at here in this in the way that this series breaks down. So, and then on the other side in the West, which we'll talk about in a second, the Braves would play the winner of the Diamondbacks and Phillies, and the Dodgers would play the winner of the Cubs and the Brewers as the race would move forward. So, when we look at it right now, Tampa Bay and Toronto, I think this is a series that I would imagine they don't want to play each other. They don't want to see each other, but it's great to me, fan-wise, as a fan of baseball, to see the American League continue to go up against each other. I think this is one of those situations where it's great for TV, it's great for radio, but these two teams are like, we played each other like 100 times. I don't want to do this, because I think it, as good as Tampa has been over the years, playing such a familiar foe makes this a really dangerous series for them. And for Toronto's sake, it could be good for them there to sneak in and do that. So I think when you have these divisional matchups in the playoffs, it can really go either way. What do you think about Rays and Jays if that's what it ends up being?
I think the Rays are far and away the better team. I don't really think it's close. But they do say that playing the teams that a team knows your weaknesses, their weaknesses, right? And obviously next week, by the time we're doing this show next week, we'll know, like, the playoffs will be set, and we can fill out a quote unquote playoff bracket, if you will. That would be, that'll be, what that series is going to be like. I think Tampa sweeps them out of the trap. I don't think it's going to be close.
Well, and I would lean on, if it happened today, I would lean on Tampa. I'm just a little concerned about that being more AL East work for Tampa to go through. The Texas Rangers, though, having Houston and the Twins, and you have Houston there. Let's say Houston, and obviously if we pick today, you were talking about it, that we would both go Houston. That would mean that the two teams that are fighting to win the division of the AL West would see each other again and have to face off again in a series that I think would be tremendous. The Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. We talk about division when we spoke about Tampa Bay and Toronto. If the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros that have been fighting to see who's going to win their division face each other, I mean, and it's the difference between having to play that first series or not, right? I mean, it's not just like, okay, we won the West. It's a difference between sitting and waiting and preparing and knowing that you're in that next portion, or having to fight through it just to earn the spot to get there to play in that Final Four in the ALDS. So Rangers, Astros, if we see what we think we're potentially going to see, this can flip. Are we, are we coming to Houston? Are we going to, are we going off to face the Texas Rangers in the Arlington area? So what are your thoughts on that? That it seemingly looks like no matter what's going to happen here, if Toronto continues to do what they do, we're going to get Texas-Houston however it shapes out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's going to be the case, and I think it's going to come down to whoever gets that, first round bye. But if you think about it this way, and now in the American League, it didn't matter as much because the Astros, were just that good last year. They were a juggernaut.
Right.
But if you look at the National League last year, the Braves and Dodgers, so, having that first round bye doesn't seem like it's all it's shaped up to be. Because you're sitting on your butts for 3-4 days, and you're waiting. You're going to have your ace going in game one, but that team's just come off a series win. They're riding momentum. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
it really is. So I think it's ultimately going to come down to who wins the division. Now, if you look at it from this perspective, we haven't really talked as much about Seattle. Seattle kind of controls their own destiny right now. They play Houston and the Rangers to close out the year.
Yeah.
So for them, if they can take 2 out of 3 from Houston, they'll leapfrog them for that, second wild card spot. And then you go in and you sweep Texas.
Yeah.
Now, granted, right now, they did just get swept by Texas.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help. They would need Texas to lose 2 out of 3 and then win 2 out of 3 so that it comes down to it. And then you take 2 out of 3 or win 3 out of, or win, no, you get 4, right? I think it's 4 games with them at the end of the season. Yeah, they go to Texas for 4 to finish the year, or Texas comes to Seattle for 4. So if they take 2 out of 3 from Houston and then they sweep the Rangers, which is not out of the question, they could still win that division. So, we're talking about the third place team right now that could still win that division. That division could be completely sideways by the time you and I sit together next Monday. So it's going to be a fun finish to the season for those 3 teams.
Yeah, and that's, and that's, I love that you brought it up because it's all still alive here. At the time that we're talking, Texas has 87 wins, Houston has 85, Seattle has 84. They're all still alive. So as much as we talk about Texas-Houston, and if things continue, which one of those teams is going to win the division, which one of those teams is going to be forced to play in the wild card round, but Seattle
don't forget about Seattle.
Right, Seattle's still there. So as of now, we're looking at that. But the reality
and they play them both.
What'd you say?
And they play both of them.
Right. Seattle is
This is what you dream of at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The 2 teams that you're fighting against, you get to play them to close out the year. So you control your own destiny. If you can go win some games, you're going to get that division or you're going to get the wild card.
Well, and that's the reality. You're in control of your own destiny. If you lose, you have no one to blame but yourself. If you win, you have no one to blame but yourself. So when you look at that, and like you said, we got it coming up here today. We have a 3-game series of Seattle facing off. And the other part of this is, how about this for Seattle? They are in control of their own destiny to get into the playoffs and potentially win the division. All of these games are at home. Every
Yeah.
one of these games is at home. Their last
Seattle
seven.
sports fans are very, that's a very good home field advantage.
Right. And I'm going to
Over
tell you,
there at, oh God, what the heck's T-Mobile Park, I think it's called now.
yeah. So
It
I'm going
was
to
Safeco Field when I
tell
was a kid. That's what it always was. But realistically, that stadium is a nice little home field advantage for them.
Yeah. And Seattle, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you like the fact that the All-Star break was there in your home and you got to, and the world was watching you, well, now you have an opportunity for the world to be watching you again. 7 home games to finish it out, 2 series with the teams ahead of you. 3-game series against Houston starts today, Monday, September 25th. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, all of those games are going to be played later on. Obviously, on the East Coast, the games will be around 6 and 7 o'clock. On the West Coast, they're at 9:40, 10:05, and 9:40. And, or pardon me, East Coast 9:40, 10:05, 9:40. On the West Coast, they're going to be earlier at 6 and at 7. And then they'll face off against the Rangers on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So they got to run the gamut, literally 7 games in 7 days. They have a week to prove themselves, a week to show what they could do. Now, this is what baseball, as we talked about, is all about. You can get into the playoffs by winning some of these. You can win the division by potentially getting all of these. Texas, is playing you. Houston is playing you. You have the opportunity. This is something that coaches would tell you and managers would tell you. You never want to be in this position because it means you tripped up somewhere along the way, and you shouldn't have to need this. But at the same time, you're still in, you still have life, and you're not doing what some teams are doing, which is playing series and sitting and watching what everybody else is doing in their series. You are facing these teams in your series. What they do is directly connected to what you do to them and what you can cause. So, Seattle, you got life. And it's amazing to say that at the end of this season, with 7 days to go, you can either get in the wild card and potentially get in the division, win the division, or you could be bumped out of the playoffs. There's 3 options for Seattle, and they're all within their reach. I think that's what baseball comes down to in such a beautiful way, and this is why people should be watching.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be watching that division race very closely. If you look at those 3 teams with what Seattle's going to do, they are 8 games above 500 at home for the year. Texas is 500 on the road.
Yeah.
And Houston's pretty good on the road. They're actually worse at home. Funny enough, anybody have a trash can I could bang?
Hold on, I got one for you.
There we go.
It doesn't make the same sound that the Astros make because I didn't.
Fastball.
Yeah. I didn't have all my I did say though, and Murph, I don't know if I told you this. There's a group at Epcot that goes around and they look like they're just custodians. So they're walking around and people think like, oh, okay. And I don't want to say just custodians, but you know what I mean. So they walk around in their custodian gear and you think, okay, they're cleaning up, they're doing their job, they're day to day. And then some of them are set up where they're actually really talented and they stop. And in the middle of wherever they are, they just start playing on the trash cans that they're carrying. And I said that that's great because I had no idea that Disney had a retirement plan for the Houston Astros.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean, realistically, if you look at that with Seattle, I'm really excited for them because this is what you dream of.
Yeah.
Even if obviously you dream of being in the division lead,
right,
and knocking these guys out, but at the same time, if you take, excuse me, if you take out Houston, now you don't have to sweep them. If you just take 2 out of 3,
yeah,
you just need Texas to not sweep the Angels. You just need the Angels to take 1. If the Angels win 1 game and they take 2 out of 3 from Houston, if they sweep the Rangers, they win the division. That would be the end of it because they would then leapfrog the Astros. They would have a half-game lead on Houston. And then if you win all 4, you win the division. You win the division and you're the 2 seed in the American League and you have a bye. And boy, would they enjoy that after that gauntlet that they're about to go through. I think that's obviously best case scenario because you're basically winning 6 of 7 down the stretch to win the division. Is it far fetched? Yes. Can it happen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just got to figure out why they just got swept by the Rangers and get things
Adjust.
sorted out.
Well,
Make
again,
adjustments.
and you're playing at home. And
Correct.
and Seattle, we talk about the 12th man for the Seahawks. Well, guess what, Mariner fans? You have the opportunity to help be there and be the support to hopefully be a piece of leading your team into the playoffs. There's another team in the American League that could help them out, though. The Tampa Bay Rays have a series against the Boston Red Sox, and they finish off with a series against the Toronto Blue Jays. Both of these series, unlike Seattle, are going to be on the road. If Tampa can make quick, obviously a quick game there of the Toronto Blue Jays and run through there, they can actually help Seattle in that sense as well. They can help Houston and Seattle, or one or the other. So there is
Absolutely.
that side of it too. So don't forget, folks, as Seattle's only a half a game out, if Toronto falters against Tampa and Houston continues to win and Houston moves to the second wild card, Seattle could still get in outside of what's within their control. So Seattle, basically what we're saying to you this morning is you have every single opportunity to get in. Win your games. Maybe the Tampa Bay Rays help you, but what a coach will always say and what I always go with, don't wait for somebody else to do what you can do yourself and get out there and get the job done. If Tampa ends up helping you, well, great. But you need to put yourself in a position where you're in the playoffs no matter what. And with Murph being such a big fan, before we jump into the West, with Murph being such a massive fan of the American League Central, I want to let everybody know the Minnesota Twins didn't only win the division, they are the only team that will end the season with a winning record.
Correct. And
Because
it won't be by much.
because
Who do they play to close out the year?
well, the Cleveland
Oh,
Guardians.
okay, yes, they will.
Yeah.
They play two of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah, the Cleveland
Okay,
Guardians.
they're going to probably win like 86, 87, 88 games, I think.
Yeah, because I mean,
Maybe
even if the
more.
Cleveland Guardians were to win, if we look at what they have left here, so they have 157 games that they've played. There's 162, so they have five games left to play. There's no way they could be above 500. Detroit is 10 games below 500. The Chicago White Sox are 60 and 96 at the time we're talking. And Kansas City, with everybody focusing on the Oakland A's, Kansas City almost had a worse record than the Oakland Athletics, as they are 54 and 102. Oakland's 48 and 108. So Minnesota won that division because, well, Minnesota
No one else tried.
they got to 80 games. I mean, they got to 80 wins. So, it was like the fight for 80. It was the same thing we were looking a few years ago in football, where there was a bunch of teams inside of the NFC East, and you were thinking to yourself, someone's going to win this division with 4 to 6 wins, which would have been
Legitimate. It was a legitimate possibility.
yeah.
That's the funny part.
It was a very real thing in the National League. Here on DT and Murphy, inside a wake up call with Dan Tortora, always starting off your week with my guy Murph. These divisions are still very, very open. And this is the thing. Now, the Dodgers, I'll start in the West. The Dodgers have clinched their division. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, the San Diego Padres, and the San Francisco Giants, they're all mathematically still in. In the Central, the Milwaukee Brewers are in first, but the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds are still mathematically in. And the best thing the Diamondbacks could have done in recent history is to take care of the Reds and take care of the Cubs to not only put themselves back in the wild card hunt, but to get them into the second spot and potentially put them in a place to get that first spot in the wild card by beating the teams that were. The Atlanta Braves have wrapped up their division of the National League East, but the Phillies are still alive and the Miami Marlins are as well. The eliminated teams, the Mets, the Nationals, the Pirates, who had started off the season looking pretty good, the Cardinals, and the Colorado Rockies, who have the worst record in the NL. In the National League, the Colorado Rockies are 56 and 99. They are looking to potentially be the third team in all of baseball this season of 30 franchises that will lose at least 100 games. So let's start in the West, Murph. The Dodgers are in the lead. The Diamondbacks had been in the lead for a minute, and the Diamondbacks are now putting themselves in a position where they've continued to win. Now, granted, they had some trip ups against the Mets. They had some moments against the Yankees, but the Diamondbacks have put themselves in a place right now where they have beaten those very important teams. And as I spoke about weeks ago when we were discussing this, looking at the rest of the series that the Diamondbacks had, the teams that they were playing, just like we talk about the Mariners, if the Diamondbacks took care of the teams ahead of them, they were in direct control of what they could do to get in here. They had to play, and they had to play really, really good teams. And I want to go back to the beginning of this. They had a 2-game series against the Rangers, and that was back on August 21st and 22nd. They beat them in both of those games, won in extra innings. They won 3 of 4 over the Cincinnati Reds. Then they dropped 3 in a row to the Dodgers. Then they got a win in a 3-game series against the Orioles. They defeated Colorado 2-1. Should have been 3 there, but they lost 3-2 in the game in between. They had a 4-game series with the Cubs. They won that series 3-1. Then they had a series with the Mets, which they faltered a little bit there and lost that series. They only won 1 game there, and they took 3 losses there. Then they had another series with the Cubs. They beat them 3 games in a row. Then they had a series against the San Francisco Giants, a 2-game series, won both of those games. Then they had a series against the Yankees. Middle game was postponed. They went 1-1 in that series, a 7-1 loss and a 7-1 win. And now their game that they had against the Yankees will happen today. And then they have the Chicago White Sox, who are not in a great place, and the Houston Astros to end out the season. And they will end those last 3 games of the season against the Astros at home in Arizona. So, playing the Cubs, playing a couple times, playing the Reds, playing the Dodgers, playing the Rangers, they had complete control. And I talked about that before any of those games happened. The big trip-ups happening against teams like the Mets and then dropping, a game against the Yankees, something you can't do. But every time that they've teetered, they've been able to get on the winning side of things, beat the right teams that are in the playoff hunt. But they definitely would have liked to get, I'm sure, at least a game against the Dodgers and to not have any blunders against the Yankees or the Mets. But a team, again, within their control, if they're going to run the gamut, they are in complete control of getting in. And the Arizona Diamondbacks have done enough to be where they are today. And now they could finish things out strong and not just be in, but put themselves in a position to be fully locked into the wild card instead of the last team that gets to join the party.
Right. And, one thing I do want to go back on real quick, the divisions are all but over. The Braves were the first team to clinch the division. They're already at 100 wins. The Dodgers have 96 wins. They clinched that division already, and I believe Milwaukee's magic number is 1. And they play the Cubs at the end of the season. So, all they got to do is win 1 game, and they're good. As for the wild card, like I just said, the Cubs play the Brewers to close out the year. I guarantee you the Brewers want to knock the Cubs out of the playoffs. So I think the Brewers are going to play them tough, especially because, they're not going to be necessarily playing for anything because they're going to be the 3rd division winner and they're going to have the first wildcard team regardless. Yeah. But I'm sure they want to make sure that the Cubs are not in the playoffs. So I'm willing to bet they'll play that series tough. And I think the Cubs get bounced. So that leaves us with 3 teams: the Philadelphia Phillies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Miami Marlins. The Marlins, to close out the year, play the Mets and the Pirates. The Marlins notoriously play the Mets tough, always have.
Yeah.
So I am interested to see how that ends out. And they got 7 games to go. They've got 7 games left. Arizona's got 7 games left. They make up the game with the Yankees today, and then they play the White Sox for 3. And then they got Houston. They got Houston for 3. Yeah. So they got 7 games left. The Cubs play the Braves. Have fun with that, Chicago. And the Brewers.
Yeah. Look at the Phillies, though. Look at who they play.
I'm going to put it this way, guys. The Cubs are not making the playoffs. They're going to get swept by the Braves, and they're getting knocked right out of the playoffs, and that's going to catapult Miami up into the playoff spot. San Diego, San Francisco, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Terrible year for San Diego. about what we expected from the Giants. The Reds, great story. Would have loved to see them in the playoffs. I think it's unlikely at this point. I mean, unless Arizona falters, they've got the Guardians and the Reds. They've only got 6 games left. Actually, they've got 5 games left. So yeah, they're in trouble. They are in deep trouble. But I think it's going to come down to Miami, Philly, and Arizona. I do not think the Cubs are getting in. I really don't. I look at who they're playing. I look at what they're doing this year. Yes, they have a over 100, a plus 100 run differential, which definitely does sort out the good teams from the bad teams. But they're 4-6 in their last 10. Yes, they've won 3 in a row, but they won 3 in a row over the Rockies. They swept the Rockies and lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates before that. The Cubs ain't making the playoffs. I don't care what anyone says. The Cubs are not making the playoffs. You heard it here first. But ultimately, I think I think we know the 3 teams. I think we know the 3 teams. I think it's just going to come down to the order.
Well,
I still think Arizona will probably be the 2 in the second wild card spot, and they'll play the Phillies. But I think Miami will be in there as the 3rd team. The Cubs are out. They're going to be out. Mark my words.
I think when you look at all this and the Phillies, and it's what I made mention of before, the Phillies just had a series against the Mets, and they beat them 4-0. Now
they notoriously do not play the Mets well.
Well, here's the thing, though.
They really don't.
The Phillies, and typically they're close games. We look back on these games, they won 5-4. They won 5-4 in 10 innings the next day. Then they won 7-5 and 5-2. So closer games here. They have the Pirates at home, and then they have the Mets on the road to end things out. If the Phillies are in any place where they trip up, they'd have to trip up the whole time for the rest of these 5 games for Arizona to have any shot. It looks like Arizona, if they take care of business and do what they need to do, they're going to lock in 2. Philly's going to lock in that number 1 wild card spot, which means they'll be the 4th seed in the National League. Arizona, if they continue to do what they need to do, to lock in that 5th seed. And then it comes down to number 6 and who that's going to be. It looks like
Miami
now,
Marlins,
as we're discussing it, and it looks like as of right now, Miami. Listen, Arizona again to just continue to beat that point home. Arizona had the Reds and they had the Cubs. They had these teams that were sitting right there with them, sitting in front of them. Miami kind of toyed and they were right there, kind of up against the Diamondbacks at certain points. But the Cubs were not just in. The Cubs were the number 2 wild card team. And Arizona had to face them, and Arizona took care of business multiple times. And then you had the Cincinnati Reds, and they had that short series against them, and they took care of the Cincinnati Reds. Arizona is where they are today because of what they had control over. And with what they've done, they didn't just put themselves in. At the end of the day, and I know it's something that you believe, you just talked about, Arizona taking care of business didn't just get them in and an opportunity to not just barely get in, but to be the 2nd team. But it put them in a situation where beating the Cubs and beating the Reds down the stretch here might actually see Arizona get in and both of those other teams not be in at all. And if Miami is able to catch fire, which they should because it's hot as heck down in Miami, Florida, if they're able to catch fire, they're a game behind right now. And if the Marlins can do this thing and they could push forward, we're looking at a Miami Marlins team that I think that, people typically count out the Marlins, but the Marlins to end off the season will have a 3-game series at the Mets and a 3-game series at the Pirates. It's crazy to think when you look at Philadelphia, you look at Miami, you look at a bunch of these teams that are fighting for wild card positioning, and Philly's pretty much locked in.
They're all playing the same teams.
But they're playing the same teams. So basically, what baseball is saying is Pirates and Mets, you can either play spoiler or you could just lay down and get run the heck over. But the Pirates and the Mets, believe it or not, have control over playoff positioning and teams that get in. So even though they're not going to be in, the Pirates and the Mets still have a lot to do with this postseason, which I find very ironic.
Absolutely.
And kind of crazy. But yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. The Mets notoriously do not play Miami well. They do typically play Philly pretty well. They did just get swept in a 4-game series.
But they were close games.
It happens. But there's no pitching right now. It's Kodai Senga, and that's it. Kodai Senga is going to make his last start this week. I'm excited to. I'll probably watch that game. I think he's starting Wednesday. I could be wrong about that. I think he's pitching out. Yeah, he's pitching on Wednesday. I will probably watch that game simply because, it's Kodai Senga. I legitimately think he's not going to win Rookie of the Year, but he should be up there. He should finish top 3, and he should finish top 3 in the Cy Young. I want to know right now why he's getting zero love for the Cy Young.
Yeah.
I really hope the voters finally see it. I'm not saying he's going to win the Cy Young. I still think that should go to Justin Steele or, who's the other guy I'm thinking of in the Cy Young race?
So we actually put up, and it's funny because I wanted to make sure that we told you this, so I'm happy that you brought it up. We put up a poll for the Cy Young, and so as we're going through here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora because we got to get to a fast break. When I come back, you brought up Steele. We have, when Papa Joe was on the show, we put up 4 potential Cy Young Award winners in the National League. Who would you vote for? And we're going to take a look at that voting. We're also going to take a look at 2 of our Shohei Ohtani polls to see where everything is. People voted immediately, and now we have an opportunity to check out how those polls are doing. And Murph brought us into that in a perfect segue. So we'll be back right after this, where sports meets life, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports meets life. DT and Murphy starting off your week every single week on Wake Up Call at 9 a.m. Eastern Time and carrying you pretty much all the way to our Saxon time, which every first and third Monday is the presidential perspective, and every second and fourth are the Saxon spotlights. And we have the presidential perspective today with the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, going to be joining me here in just a little bit. I wanted to get to some of these polls we put up when PJ was on the show. Who would you give the National League Cy Young Award to this season? Blake Snell of the Padres, Zach Gallen of the D-backs, Justin Steele of the Cubs, or Spencer Strider of the Braves? The voting continues, and you can continue to vote. You got a couple more days to vote on X, so go there, the former Twitter, @CallDT. That's CALLDT. Snell has 62% of our vote that you would vote him for the Cy Young in the National League, 20% Spencer Strider, 18% Zach Gallen, and 0% for Justin Steele. Your thoughts?
I voted for Justin Steele.
You just did? Okay.
I just voted for Justin Steele.
All right. So Murph now has made sure that everybody has gotten a vote here. I do want to get these really quick and get your thoughts on each of them. Between Shohei Ohtani and Corey Seager, who is your vote for 2023 AL MVP? 76% still said they're going for Ohtani despite injury. 24% said Seager. And then going off of that, I said, would you still vote Shohei Ohtani as AL MVP despite being out for the remainder of the season due to injury? 92% said yes, 8% said no.
So I want to start with Ohtani for a second.
Yeah.
The Ohtani versus Seager debate, I think, is a non-starter. Simply because if you're going to say that Ohtani missed all this time, in reality, Ohtani's basically missing about a month, 4 to 6 weeks roughly of pitching, and then about 3 weeks of hitting. Corey Seager missed a month and a half of the season. Don't forget about that. Corey Seager's only going to wind up playing about 120, 125 games at most. So realistically, it's pretty darn even. It's Shohei Ohtani, and there is no question about it. It's not even it's a non-starter. And I feel bad for Corey Seager because in any other year with no Shohei Ohtani, he's the runaway MVP. However, considering both of those guys basically played the same amount of time, it's Ohtani, and that's the discussion's over. Yeah. There's no way it's going to be Corey Seager because Shohei Ohtani was a Cy Young caliber pitcher and an MVP level hitter.
Yeah.
He might still lead the American League in home runs. And he's going to miss 3 weeks. I'll start there. So I'll kind of give you the floor back for that because I'm interested to hear what you think about, kind of where I went with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a person that believes in faulting somebody for something out of their control. And I mean, Shohei Ohtani, like you said, to be somebody that's can lead you in a Cy Young race and then lead you in an MVP race. And to not be playing and still be, your best hitter out there, arguably, I mean, that to me says a lot about Shohei. And the thing about Shohei, too, I mean, when you think about pitching is, they're not missing games, but they're not out there every single night, right? So if you say, okay, he's not going to be out there for a month, you kind of add that all in and say, okay, for a normal pitcher, we don't see them all the time. We see them in a rotation. We see him as a hitter all the time. We see him as a pitcher sometimes. So, I mean, I just kind of look at Shohei Ohtani as, I mean, he's an enigma. He is a one of one. He'll be a one of one. I don't know if anybody will ever look like him and be like him ever again in the game. So
enjoy it while it lasts, folks.
Yeah,
we will never have another one.
So I feel that Shohei Ohtani, I mean, basically, if you can put a guy in a situation and saying, okay, when we're looking at batting, when we're looking at homers, when we're looking at pitching, when we're looking at just overall player, how do you say that a guy's not an MVP when there's nobody like him in the entire league? And injuries are, that's not your fault. And so I feel like in this argument, Seager, as much as there's respect there, it's kind of like everybody's playing in Ohtani's world because nobody plays exactly like him. So that's how I look at it. I could sit there and have a conversation till the cows come home about everybody that looks good on paper. but Shohei Ohtani is this guy that looks good on paper, and at the same time, he doesn't look like anybody else. So how can you say anybody else is going to win the award when, to me, isn't the whole point of giving an award giving it to somebody who just is different, is in a league of their own? And Shohei Ohtani, I mean, it's no fault to Seager or to anybody else, but Shohei Ohtani is Shohei Ohtani, and when you compare him, there's no one to compare him to. So as long as he hits well and pitches well, I feel like every single year he's in the race.
Absolutely. And, whether he wins the award or not, he's going to be right there.
Whether he wins the award or not.
Just like he was last year with Judge.
Yeah, I mean, whether he wins it or not, to a lot of people, he still wins it,
Yeah, because in terms of the definition of the award, most valuable player,
yeah,
he's two players in one.
Yeah.
If that's not most valuable, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely see that side of it. Let's get to the Cy Young quick so that we could jump into Jets and Jaguars. Your thoughts about the Cy Young race here, which, like, I want to let everybody know, once again, you can vote. Go to X, the former Twitter, and vote today. And the voting is going to be open for another couple days. And you can feel free to vote in all of our polls that we put up. And as of right now, Blake Snell, Zach Gallen, Justin Steele, and Spencer Strider, who would you vote for to be your National League Cy Young Award winner? And Murph, you voted for Justin Steele, and you were the first vote for Justin Steele, so I want to get your thoughts.
I think it's because people don't really know who he is. To be perfectly honest, I voted for him to make sure he had some semblance of respect in there. But to be perfectly honest, a guy like Spencer Strider, and I'll advocate for Spencer Strider all the time because I think he's that good. He is on the level, strikeout-wise, that nobody else except Jacob deGrom has ever been on. So that's kind of what I think of Spencer Strider. But a guy with a 3.81 ERA cannot win the Cy Young Award. Period. End of discussion. He's out. If you ask me. Zach Gallen kind of pitched himself out of the race in the last 2 or 3 starts that he's had. So he's got a 3.50 ERA now, over 200 strikeouts and 200 innings. He's probably going to lead the National League in innings pitched. But I don't think he's got, some semblance of a chance. Then you come to Blake Snell versus Justin Steele.
Yeah.
Blake Snell's got 174 innings pitched. He's probably only going to make one more start, so he's going to be at about 180, I would think, or right around 180. 233 ERA, 227 strikeouts at the moment. That's probably your winner right there, most likely. Now, Justin Steele, 168 innings pitched, 3 ERA, 16-5. That's pitched outstanding. I'm looking at this list, though, and like I said, there is one name that is not on this list, and it kind of pisses me off. And it's Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga, let's go over his stats for this year. He's 4th in the National League in Cy Young, in ERA.
Yeah.
Tied for 15th in strikeouts. He's probably going to get to 200 strikeouts. 122 whip. He's got 161 innings pitched. He's probably going to finish about 167 or so. I would think just over 200 strikeouts. He's got a 296 ERA. He's 12-7. That's a Cy Young caliber year, man. And he's probably not even going to finish top 3, which pisses me off. It really does.
And he's the only
his last 3 starts against Minnesota, Arizona, and Miami.
Yeah.
He's got a combined 18 strikeouts in 18 innings. He's given up 4 earned runs, 13 hits in 18 innings. Decent amount of walks, but that's also because he had some control issues to start the year. That's why his whip is as high as it is. But he's figured that out. He should get some. I'm not saying for a second he's going to win the award. It's probably Blake Snell's award to lose.
Yeah.
But he should at least finish top 3. Which then in turn brings Rookie of the Year into consideration.
Yeah.
National League Rookie of the Year, if you look at, the Now I'm just trying to look up the actual race for NL Rookie of the Year. I think it's a two-headed race between Corbin Carroll and Kodai Senga. Now, according to FanDuel Sportsbook and Bet365, Corbin Carroll is a heavy favorite to win.
Yeah.
And I think he probably does. But Kodai Senga's had a Rookie of the Year type year. Corbin Carroll's not going to be top 10 in the MVP. Kodai Senga's going to hopefully be a top 3 Cy Young finisher. I think that race is a lot closer than it seems. It should be.
And it's the only pitcher that
I might throw $5 on Kodai Senga to win the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Because I think it can happen.
It's the only pitcher that the Mets decided to hold on to. So,
well, granted, they signed him to a 5-year contract in the offseason, but
right.
Realistically, Kodai Senga, outside of the control problems that he had to get to start the year, was everything advertised and more. That ghost fork is one of the most disgusting pitches I have ever seen in my life. Yeah. The way that thing drops off the table, it's absurd. But, we'll see. I think Cy Young is going to be Blake Snell's award to lose, but at the same time, give my man Kodai Senga some love. He deserves it.
As they say, give the man his flowers. So, we'll see as we go forward. I'm excited. I want to make sure we get into the sports card side of things. Proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. And to get a quick conversation as I show equal love to my squad. So we take off the Diamondbacks hat with much love and respect to the D-backs, and we switch to the Jags hat. Your thoughts on the Jets? Who do they go for at quarterback? I'm surprised they haven't made a move already. There's been some names that have come out there. Matty Ryan, as well as Carson Wentz. What are your thoughts? Jameis Winston had a nice day. What are your thoughts for the Jets?
I don't want crab legs. No.
Winston.
No, but I am as surprised as you are that they haven't at least signed somebody.
Yeah.
You've got 2 quarterbacks on the roster. I don't like that. I think you need to have a 3rd quarterback in here learning the system.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if Wilson goes down, then you're left with Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle would be the last quarterback on the roster. You got to sign somebody. Even if they're just learning the playbook, even if they're just running scout team right now.
Yeah.
But I've been pulling for Carson Wentz this whole time. I think he's the guy that makes the most sense. I think he's probably the best option remaining. He's still got, down the field passing ability. He's still relatively mobile. So with a poor offensive line, he can still get out of the pocket. I don't know why they haven't signed him yet. And I have been, as you all know, and you've all seen the video, I do not like Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I do not like him. However, after the Dallas game and said, look, as poorly as he played, that loss is not on him. He didn't necessarily do, anything that really hurt you in that game. So I didn't blame that on him. Yesterday's game, I also don't fully blame on him.
Yeah.
However, if you look at the plays that they ran, and people were getting on Hackett at first, he schemed, guys were getting open. It wasn't that guys weren't open. It's that Zach Wilson was just late on all of his reads. Near the end of the game, he had to throw to Garrett Wilson. He had him almost 2 seconds before he released the ball. And he didn't throw it to him.
Yeah.
And then he ends up throwing it wide, and it's 4th down. Then he, for some god unknown reason, he throws a check down on 4th and 10 with the game on the line.
That's a Dak Prescott move. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, the other crazy part is they could have still won that game.
Yeah. That
ball was in Randall Cobb's hands on the Hail Mary. And he couldn't, he didn't have his footing. So it was in his hands, but I don't think he was catching it anyway.
Murph, that was a game against 2 absolutely atrocious teams.
My God, that was 2 terrible football teams.
The fact that game ended 15-10 is exactly how I felt about it going into it. That's the type of score that I'm like, yep, that adequately shows what I was feeling going into the game. It adds up, for sure. So the Jets, you think Carson Wentz is the way to go?
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I know.
The problem is they should have signed him after Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah.
So that they had, sign two guys. And then they both learn the system, and whoever has it better is the next quarterback if Wilson's down.
Yeah, you bring in Ryan, bring in Wentz, see how they both perform against each other, and then say, okay, we had these guys in for a couple weeks. We sign them in week 1. Right after, Rodgers goes down on Monday night, we sign these guys on Tuesday, and we've given them a couple weeks to showcase themselves against each other. We think this guy's a better fit for us, so we keep one and drop the other.
Absolutely.
And
I think that would have been the perfect way to do it.
Right. We give them that conversation of, hey, if anything else happens, you're obviously our first alternate. We'll give you a call.
Yeah, without a doubt. And they're refusing to do that.
What's Phillip Rivers doing? There's other guys out there.
I'd rather Wentz or Ryan. They played last year.
Yeah.
Or Colt McCoy for that matter. But here's the thing. I keep seeing like, oh, go trade for Kirk Cousins. Go trade for Kirk Cousins. What are you giving up for Kirk Cousins? You can't trade the first or second round picks this year.
Right.
You literally can't.
Right.
Because you do not control either one of them right now. Technically, to trade it as per the rules of the NFL, as per the collective bargaining agreement. Are they giving up a third round pick for him? Are you going to take a first? Are you going on 4?
Yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers at the helm? No, you're going to probably have to trade down.
But there's another thing that goes into this. The other thing that goes into this is the fact of when people bring up, okay, just trade for Kirk Cousins. My first issue with it is that people don't respect Kirk like I do most of the time.
He's had a great start to the year. I'll give him that.
Again, he is above the equator line of the NFL, and people say that he is the equator line. He's not the equator line. He's above the equator line. Because you want to talk about Jordan Addison, you want to talk about Adam Thielen in the past, and you want to talk about Justin Jefferson. Well, who throws to them? Here's the thing about the Kirk Cousins situation in a trade with the Jets. People are thinking about this in a one-sided perspective. What is Minnesota going to do? Minnesota is in an open division. Green Bay is not in a place to win that division.
They're also 0-3, though.
Right. But you look at it like this. This is how I look at it. Minnesota is 3 games in. They know what this division can be like. They know you don't have to win a ton of games necessarily to win this division. Detroit has had blunders early. Green Bay is not the team to win it. Chicago is awful. So the reality of the fact is,
that's an understatement.
When you look at this trade, it has to make sense on both sides. Jets fans are looking at this trade going like, go get Kirk Cousins. We like that idea. But it doesn't make sense for Minnesota because who's their quarterback going to be? If the Jets take Kirk Cousins, then Minnesota are the new Jets. And now they got to go find a quarterback. Now they have to call Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz. That's why it doesn't make any sense. Why would Minnesota put themselves behind the 8 ball? Jets fans are thinking about this as Jets fans. You're not thinking about it from the other side. You can be a Jets fan and want Kirk Cousins, but you know what? There's a lot of people that want certain things. How about I go out there with the Jaguars, and how about the Jaguars trade for Chris Jones because he had such a good game against them in Kansas City, but Kansas City's not going to let that happen. So, the reality of it all is, yeah, Kirk Cousins might sound nice, but it makes no sense for Minnesota, so I don't even know why people are talking about it.
I actually think it makes more sense than you think. I still don't think it's going to happen, but I think if you're Minnesota,
if they wanted
you're
to forfeit the season,
0-3. You're 0-3. Your defense is historically bad. Yeah, your offense is great, but you're not going to win games if you can't stop the other team from scoring. That's the bottom line because your offense isn't going to score every time. Everyone seems to be thinking tank for Caleb Williams, tank for Caleb Williams, tank for Caleb Williams. At this point, I think it's Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear. Because they are not winning a game this year.
I don't
period.
think the Jets have to try to tank. I think if they just keep
playing No. I'm not even saying that from the Jets' perspective. I'm saying that from Minnesota's perspective.
But I'm saying Minnesota's a lot better than the Jets are. The Jets have a good defense.
Oh, absolutely.
But the Jets have to try and beat teams that by scoring 10 to maybe 18 points in a game where the Minnesota Vikings without defense could still put up 30. So and also to the Jets side of things, to the Minnesota Vikings side of things, they made a huge mistake in letting go of Delvin Cook. But because that team would have been much more stacked to be a team for the playoffs this season if they had Delvin with all the other weapons they have. I have no idea why they leaned on Alexander Madison and nobody else. They let Mike Boone go. Mike Boone is now with the Houston Texans.
Well, they did just trade for Cam Akers.
Yeah, I mean, but he doesn't stay healthy.
True, but so here's my thoughts.
But they wouldn't have had to trade for him if they kept Delvin Cook.
True, but here's my thought perspective with Minnesota. Imagine what that team would look like with Caleb Williams at quarterback. Kirk Cousins is not under contract next year. He's a free agent. So they don't have him at quarterback next year. And there's no guarantee they will have him at quarterback next year.
Yeah.
So if you're Minnesota, you're 0-3. Caleb Williams is going to be there. All indications are that this quarterback class is going to be incredibly deep. Like, way better than 2018, way better than 2020. Well, 2021. Basically, the only quarterback that was any good in that draft class was Trevor Lawrence, and the rest of them are terrible. But my thought process behind this is, why not, if you know at this point you are not going to win games, why not trade Cousins, get a third or fourth round pick for him, and then be ready to draft a quarterback next year? Because that quarterback that you put in that situation, granted, you've got to improve the defense.
Yeah.
But if you it doesn't matter what rookie quarterback is in there. You put any rookie quarterback in that situation with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, a good offensive line, and a solid running game, they're going to succeed. Unless they are incompetent like Zach Wilson used to be. I think he's still at least he's a little bit more competent than he was last year. But if you put somebody in there that's competent, they're going to still win games. My thing with Kirk Cousins is he's a very good quarterback. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. He's an above-average quarterback. He is, I think, personally, kind of what Phillip Rivers used to be earlier on in his career. Very good player, but his teams can't win. With the right pieces around him, yeah, he can win. I think he could win in New York. If they went and traded for him tomorrow, I think the Jets could still have a chance to win 9 games and make the playoffs.
I don't think he's in a better position, though. I think he's in a better position with his defense, but I don't think he's in a better position.
But they're in a better position to win because they're not going to have to score as much. And they probably still will, because Garrett Wilson is not a huge step down from Justin Jefferson. As good as Justin Jefferson is, Garrett Wilson is still really good.
I don't think
you still got Alan Lazard. You've still got, well, they haven't used Mecole Hardman, but you still got Mecole Hardman.
I just
Randall
don't think
Cobb's
it makes
been
sense.
Okay.
I don't think it makes sense for Kirk Cousins.
I don't think it makes sense for Minnesota either. But
it doesn't make sense for Minnesota. It doesn't make sense for Kirk, because if Kirk goes to New York, he's got to go through Buffalo. He's got to go through Miami.
But they already beat Buffalo once.
If Kirk stays in Minnesota, then Kirk's got to go through.
But you're also 0-3.
Yeah, but the thing is you got to play the Bears. You got to play the Packers. At worst,
I still think the Packers have a shot to make the playoffs.
They're going to split series with.
I think they're better than you think.
And the Detroit Lions go up and down. I mean, Minnesota was knocking on the door of the Super Bowl a few years ago. So I don't think it makes any sense for Kirk Cousins to put himself in a situation where he's got Josh Allen and Tua in his league. I think, yes,
but I think he'd welcome the challenge, though.
I don't.
You don't think he'd welcome the challenge?
I think he welcomes any challenge. I just think, why would you make your life harder when you're going to become a free agent next season?
But you're also 0-3 on a team that might not go anywhere.
But
if you go to a team that, at least with a quarterback, we know damn well with a quarterback on that team, the Jets can win football games.
But they're gonna.
With Zach Wilson at quarterback, they can't.
What's the difference between 1-3 or 1-2 and 0-3? I mean, you're on 2.
You already beat one of the teams ahead of you. That's the difference. You already beat the Buffalo Bills.
But what's that going to mean?
Go into Buffalo and beat them again, you've got a chance to win that division.
As good as
Miami is, if they can beat Buffalo again, for argument's sake, let's just say they do get Kirk Cousins. If they beat Buffalo again, I think they give Miami a game because the defense is still good, especially if you're Kirk Cousins. If your team wins like 3 games or 4 games this year, who's going to want Kirk Cousins? He was the starting quarterback on a team that won 3 games. Minnesota's not going to want him. He'll be gone. And he's probably not going to get a very big contract because people think, oh, he's washed. His team is terrible. Yeah, why not go to a team that's actually got a chance to win right now? Minnesota's defense is so bad, they will not win football games. That team from last year got exposed with how bad their defense was. They lost to the Giants in the playoffs. The Giants.
Yeah, but they're a team
and
that's
they are terrible right now.
But you look at the situation, right? Dallas. You look at the NFC versus the AFC. Kirk Cousins in the NFC. Dallas didn't have a great game. You look at Philadelphia. They came back in that game against Philadelphia, lost by 4. So with what he has, to me it makes no sense in a trade for Minnesota because they're not getting any value, and it makes no sense for.
Well, you may not get any value for him if he goes in free agency.
But the thing is, if Minnesota doesn't have, depending on how Minnesota ends their season, if they ended in the middle of the road, they're not going to be able to get Caleb Williams. They'll re-sign Kirk Cousins. If they ended in, the thing is, this is banking on the fact.
I don't know if they do,
but it's banking on the fact that they're 0-3 and that the other 14 games of the season are going to go the same way, which I don't think is going to be the case for Minnesota. I think Minnesota at worst is going to win 8 or 9 games. So to me, Minnesota knows what they have. They know what they could do. They know that every season they could be a playoff team. I think going to the Jets would be a huge mistake for Kirk Cousins. He is talented. He is good. It is a better defense. I understand that argument. But it's based on the whole thing that all the Jets need is a quarterback to lead them down the field, which
it is all the Jets need.
I do, but the thing is, they got to go through Miami and they got to go through Buffalo. He's got an easier road in the NFC North where it's wide open. The NFC, and the thing is, the NFC is wide open. The Seattle Seahawks are not a great team. The NFC South doesn't have any great teams. It's really Philadelphia and nobody else. And Minnesota knows, okay, if we get to the end of it, we had a good game against them before. If we see Philadelphia in the playoffs, then we see Philadelphia in the playoffs. But the New York Jets, yes, they might need that final piece. They might need that quarterback. It doesn't make sense for Kirk Cousins. It doesn't make sense for Minnesota. It doesn't make sense in the value. And it doesn't make sense with the road that they have in the NFC North. It makes perfect sense for the Jets, but it doesn't make sense for the Vikings, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. The Jets need to find the right person to lead them down the field. Carson Wentz hasn't spent a lot of time in the NFL. He's been injured a million times. If the guy could stay healthy and you put all of his time together, he's like, what, a 3-year NFL quarterback?
He had an ACL injury, and he was about to win the MVP.
Right, but you look at it. So you say, okay, Carson Wentz has spent little to no time in the NFL comparative to other quarterbacks that were drafted in the same time that he was or around the same time because of injury. Matty Ice is good, and Matty Ice has proven he could do some things. And Matty Ice would have been a playoff quarterback. Here's the
28-3.
But
that's all I have to say.
But here's the perfect
about Matt Ryan.
Here's the perfect argument though for Matt Ryan. His Atlanta Falcons defense is atrocious. It's been atrocious. It's been awful for.
And how did he do for the Colts last year?
For so many years.
But terrible.
But here's the thing. You put Matt Ryan, if all you need is a quarterback and you got a defense that can take care of business, you got a guy that can air it out and have fun and get you to 30 points and have your defense do the deed. He makes perfect sense in the argument that you make because he's a good enough quarterback.
He's 38 years old.
Okay, and Aaron Rodgers is about to be.
But Aaron Rodgers still has mobility. Matt Ryan is going to have to sit in the pocket. The offensive line is not good enough for them to sit in the pocket. They need a guy who can run in some capacity, which Carson Wentz can do.
Yeah, but I don't.
I would not at all be worried about Carson Wentz's injury history. Carson Wentz had a knee injury in a year that he was about to win the MVP.
I think
he's been banged up a little bit. What's that?
You make a perfect argument for Carson Wentz. There's a lopsided argument for Kirk Cousins. There's a perfect argument for Carson Wentz. The only way that I would listen as the Minnesota Vikings is what you had said before, which is something they can't do, is for the New York Jets to say, "Hey, we got a number 1 pick in our wheelhouse. You can have it." There's nothing that the Jets can give the Vikings that is going to make.
But
this
I'm not
thing
saying that though.
I think
my argument is if Minnesota thinks they're done,
it's only 3 games.
It's possible. I know it's only 3 games.
It's only 3.
I understand it's only 3 games.
And the NFC North is not great.
But if you think about it this way, if you don't plan on keeping Kirk Cousins past this year, why wouldn't you make the trade? You're already 0-3.
But
Why
look
wouldn't you just secure a better draft
Look at what
position
they've shown,
and pick
though.
up an extra pick?
Dalvin Cook is an incredible talent, and they were like, yeah, we'll run him to the end, and when he's a free agent, then he can go do whatever the hell he wants to do. That's probably the same thing that they could do with Kirk.
But they also were 0-3 last year.
But this is how Minnesota, because they had Dalvin Cook, this is how Minnesota looks at this. They made a mistake in letting Dalvin Cook go. It's as simple as that. They are one piece away on offense, and it's the running back. You talk about the Jets, one piece away on offense, needing a quarterback.
Didn't Madison just run for almost 100 yards?
Alexander Madison is inconsistent, and that he might have had a good day recently, but he doesn't have a good, he's not a consistent good day player. That's the issue with Alexander Madison, is he needs to be more consistent. He still needed more time with Dalvin Cook. I think he's good in a two-back situation, not as the dominant guy. I just don't see that happening. Kirk Cousins is in a place right now and Minnesota's in a place where they know they're going to eventually win games with Kirk. They always do. They always figure it out. And again, it makes perfect sense for the Jets, but it also makes perfect sense for the Jets to have Trevor Lawrence. It makes perfect sense for the Jets to have,
they should have had Trevor Lawrence. Thanks, Adam Gase.
It makes perfect sense for them to have Justin Herbert, but it doesn't make sense for the other team. And Minnesota has nothing at quarterback beyond that. And why would if Minnesota's looking at the Jets right now going, your best bet's Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz, if they trade Kirk Cousins, then they are now the team going, our best bet is Carson Wentz or Matt Ryan. Why would they want to become the new look Jets? So just leave it alone. They're going to keep playing their game. It makes perfect sense for the Jets, but it makes no sense for the Vikings. And that's the reason why it's not going to happen, is because it has to make sense on both sides. I can get on Madden right now and make a trade that's going to make me look great, but it's Madden. It's fake. It's not real. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the Kirk Cousins thing is real. I think you go get Carson Wentz and you keep Matt Ryan on retainer. That's what you do right now.
Keep in mind, the Vikings schedule is kind of brutal.
So's the Jets. The Jets have to go through really.
But the problem is the Jets have a championship caliber defense. The Vikings have a historically terrible defense.
That's gotten them to the playoffs.
I'm not for a second.
Times.
Listen, I'm not saying that this doesn't make sense I'm not saying this makes sense for the Vikings, because it probably doesn't.
Not at all.
But my argument is, if they think they're not going to keep him, if you're 2-1, 3-0 at this point, doesn't matter if you're going to keep him or not. You keep going. You ride it out.
Yeah.
At 0-3, if you don't think you're going to keep Kirk Cousins, why wouldn't you trade him, get back an asset, and then utilize what's left to tank and go get a quarterback? Because the draft class is relatively deep.
Yeah.
It's not just Caleb Williams. There's other good players in this draft that you can go get that can play quarterback for you.
But there's no way Minnesota's...
You're putting them in a great offensive situation with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison, with a good offensive line, and Alexander Madison.
Minnesota's too talented. They're too talented.
I'm not saying they're not.
But that's the thing. They're so talented that it doesn't make sense, because the Bears suck. And Houston, in most cases, we'll see how they go. They looked great against the Jaguars. But the reality of it all is the number one pick is not going to go to Minnesota, no matter how bad Minnesota is, because there are teams that will vie for that. Right now, the Jets could vie for that. The Bears will vie for that. There are plenty of teams, the friggin' Denver Broncos, where Tua is literally just like going through practice and just kind of playing this he's essentially playing a Madden game against the Denver Broncos. And I want to, once again, nail this thing to the wall and let people know it once again. I told you in the beginning, I told you during, and I told you all the way through. The Denver Broncos weren't Nate Hackett's fault. And now y'all are seeing that is the fact. Sean Payton has done nothing different. It's the same crappy offense with a whole lot of talent. There's guys that have injuries, which you can't control. The defense can't stop anybody. The Denver Broncos were never Nate Hackett's problem. He was just the guy that they nailed to the cross and threw out the window. But Nate Hackett, to me, was never the issue, and now you guys can see it. Russ the Bus ain't moving the ball. The team sucks, and they got a really great chance of being in the top 3 picks. Nate Hackett was not the Denver Broncos issue. The Denver Broncos issue is the Denver Broncos. They have not put it all together. They have the talent to do it. They're like the Angels in football. They have good talent, but they can't get anywhere with it. And I'm just happy to showcase the fact. I'm not happy for the Broncos, but I'm happy that people can finally now see that it wasn't because Nate Hackett was a terrible head coach. It's because the Denver Broncos are just not in a good way. They were falling off the cliff. They got Peyton Manning. They got Tim Tebow. They got back to the playoffs. Since those moments, they have made horrendous decisions. And Seattle knew something about Russ the Bus. They knew he was talented, but they knew something because they were willing to let him go. And look at Russell now. He's just not. And how many times are we going to say he's not the same guy? What's going to get him back? He's not the same guy. What's going to get him back? Maybe he's just not the same guy. And that's period.
Pete Carroll, it seems like Pete Carroll is the reason why Russell was as good as he was. Look at Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Geno Smith was a washed up backup quarterback, and now he's, leading a very good football team.
Yeah.
He led them to the playoffs.
Well, let's do this quick. You got your cards because we got a couple minutes here. My Jaguars, go read the story, folks. It says time to regroup. Make sure you read that on wakeupcalldt.com with all of our other articles. You can read those for free, and you can check them out on all of our social media. Let's get into the cards here quick so that I can make sure that we have our presidential perspective that's coming up with Alfred University as well.
Yeah. I'm kind of just going to run through a few because I'm basically going to pull up all the football cards that I've grabbed recently because most of them you guys have not seen yet. Simply because I hadn't really been doing football until I came up there. So I'll just pull out all the stuff that I know I had up in New York, but had to start out and I got this real cheap with a Tua silver prism rated rookie or prism rookie. It's in a PSA 8. It's a cheap card, but yeah. Tua's been great. I think fans are going to like him. Your boy, this is another relatively cheap card. Select rookie T-Law. You like this one? I know you do. It's in a PSA 9. That's a cool card. These next two I got at a flea market, but I got them because they were cool cards. Drew Brees rookie card.
Yeah.
That's a gallery, Topps gallery rookie card. Another cheap one. I think I would have paid $15 for it. But it's cool. It's Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And then Peyton Manning. One of his rookie cards too. Fleer Brilliance rookie card. This thing's awesome. It's a Peyton Manning rookie card that cost me $25.
Yeah, because people
I didn't get it.
Because people, it's like when I got the Larry Bird, I paid $43 for a Larry Bird auto patch card. And it's like, it's Larry Bird, but everybody wants, they want Kobe Bryant, they want LeBron James and Michael Jordan. So I was able to get Larry Bird. The few that I wanted to show here, this is from my brother here. This is like, I guess I'm going to call this a Lime Lightning. It's a Khalil Mack, but it's a Lime Lightning looking thing. These are going to be a little bit harder to see here. I'm going to go away from the screen. I have a Tyler McGill rookie card for the Mets, which is
a fun one.
Which is very difficult here to put on your screen. And then I have a bunch of blue prisms, and I pulled an auto of Calvin Alcantara and a green ice autograph of his, which I'm very proud to showcase here if I can somehow get it on my screen. And I'm sorry it's dark in here. And for those that the thing that I wanted to show the fans that I was really, really excited about is that I have my first ever Sean Tucker rookie card, and my older bro pulled that. So Sean Tucker of the Syracuse Orange, I have his first rookie card, and never have I had one before. So I got to put my hands on his actual rookie card, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to put that in a sleeve and showcase that. Mr. Sean Tucker in this stack of rookies, you could see Sean Tucker's rookie card right there. So this will be in a top loader, a lot of meaning to me, and he has an opportunity here on Monday night to make some hay. Murph, as always, I appreciate it. I love
wait. You
got something else?
Yeah.
Okay.
You kind of cut me off.
I'm sorry.
But because I never got to show you the one that you would have liked.
Oh, okay. My bad.
So real quick, couple Joe Burrow Justin Herbert, Blue Scope Prism rookies. Those are pretty cool. I kind of put those together, but I picked up a bunch more Joe Burrow stuff.
Love it.
Recently because his market's down.
Yeah.
But the couple I wanted to show off, this is a cool card I got yesterday. This is Bryce Harper. That is a Topps Triple Threads, I believe. This is numbered out of 9.
Oh,
it's
nice.
number 6 out of 9. That's a really cool card.
I like that.
Sauce Gardner. Got the Sauce Red Rookie Ticket Auto out of 149.
I like the rookie tickets.
You'll like this isn't the one I was talking about, but you'll really like this one. Anthony Richardson, Immaculate, out of 10.
That's cool.
Rookie patch auto.
That's cool.
I love this card. Can't wait to get it graded. And then, ready?
Uh-huh.
I'm hoping that you can see this. I'm just going to show it to you.
A T-Law auto. RPA right there in front of my face.
3-color patch.
That's Clemson.
You were at the game when I got it, so I'm like, let me call him. I'm like, wait a minute. He's at the Jags are playing right now. He's not going to answer. So I got it.
Yeah.
I know you've been looking for one. I figured you probably would have wanted one with a Jags uniform instead of this, but it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But we'll chat about that a little bit more, maybe later on today. But I got this with you in mind. I figured if you want it, I'll trade it to you. If you don't want it, I'll keep it for myself because I think it's a really cool card.
Yeah.
But it's numbered out of 99, and it's 3-color patch. Really, really cool. I love this card. So I think that was the one I thought that you would like.
Yeah, I felt like it was coming. I was like, he's got to have some type of Trevor Lawrence RPA or something. So yeah, no, and I do enjoy it because I covered him at Clemson too. So it's meaningful to me because I've covered him in both, and I just spoke with him yesterday, which is going to be airing on the show On the Prowl this week. So spoke with him in back-to-back weeks and got an opportunity to talk with him about heading off to London for a couple weeks. So that is a great way to end it. Murph, I love you dearly. You know it. I love the conversation we had about Kirk because there's so many angles to it, and that was a lot of fun to have that with you, and we'll see it. All I know that you and I can 1,000% agree on is that the Jets should have signed a quarterback like 2 weeks ago. So
100%.
We'll see where it goes from here. As always, I appreciate it. Thank you to GG Cards and Breaks for all of our sports card things that we get to share here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And Murph, I'll talk with you soon.
Sounds good, sir. We'll talk next week.
We will definitely talk after the show about Trevor. So, what'd you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so looking forward to talking with you soon, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right, take care. That comment from Brendan Murphy, once again in DT and Murphy here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, and appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're going to take a quick step aside on Wake Up Call. We will be back right after this with Mark Zupan in our newest edition of the Presidential Perspective with the president of Alfred University. Unique times. There are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234
Recording
or order
stopped.
online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our
corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success at Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognize that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level, is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you where sports truly meets that thing called life, and can't thank you enough for being a part of the show. It is my honor and my privilege here at this portion of the broadcast. On Mondays around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we have Saxon Time every single Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And with every other Monday, we have the Presidential Perspective with the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. We got going on a conversation today in DT and Murphy on Kirk Cousins and whether or not he should become a New York Jet. So thank you, Mark, for your patience here, and always happy to have you here on the show. How are you?
Good. Glad to be back, Dan. Happy start to this new week. We just got back from a trip to Washington, D.C. to watch our football team play Catholic University in the rain and wind due to Tropical Storm Ophelia, but defensive struggle, and really proud of our team. Came away with a 9-6 W.
Yes, and happy to see that. And like you said, that trip to D.C. and the opportunity to go there, just what it meant to you to go to the nation's capital, and, that being one of the many opportunities that Alfred University provides to experience things off the field in the courts of life while you're on the field enjoying that as well. Going to D.C. is something that is a truly unforgettable experience. I'd love to go a little deeper into that.
And our team was able to go sightsee on Friday, sort of places like the Lincoln Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, World War II. So I think they really enjoyed that learning experience beyond the football game on Saturday. And then we had meetings with alums separate from their visit. For example, we have an alum who is the county executive from Port Fairfax County. He was a basketball player, family originally from Dominica. And then mom went with the kids to the UK, where Brian Hill ended up coming to Alfred to play basketball for us, and now runs one of the two wealthiest counties in the country. Fairfax County has about $12 billion budget and 5,000 employees. So it's larger budget than certain states. And so we got a chance to meet with him, and then another College of Business alum hosted a group of alums at their marvelous home in Annapolis on Friday night, and that was a chance to reminisce and for them to meet our athletic director and her partner. And so a bunch of really good visits. So we have an alumna in the DC area that helped run Meals on Wheels and now runs a foundation to end hunger among the elderly. So we got a chance to visit with her as well. So a bunch of really good catch-up visits on the alumni front.
Yeah, and when you have the opportunity to do that, to reach out to your alumni and to build that connection and help them to still feel a part of the school that they went to. I know that that's incredibly important to you, and that's obviously a gift that you give that you can never give back is time. So just what it means to you to be able to give that time and to have those experiences to show your alumni that they will always mean something to Alfred and that they're always a Saxon.
And all these alums helped us with a leadership visit in the spring. 25 of our students took to learn from people in policymaking circles in the DC area. And the reason they give their time too is they want to give to the next generation. So it's very gratifying to be able to help make those connections happen for the latest generation of Alfred University students.
And here with the president of Alfred University for the Saxons, Mark Zupan, in our Presidential Perspective exclusive segment in our multimedia marketing partnership, bi-monthly on Mondays here. And Mark, I know that for you today, you wanted to jump into the College of Business. Business is obviously something that is incredible because it is an everyday world for me. What is it about the College of Business at Alfred University that you believe helps to prepare your students for today's ever-growing and ever-changing and evolving world of business?
Thanks for asking, Dan. And a few things. We're a pretty small business, but we have the gold standard of accreditation by AACSB, and we're the youngest school in the top 100 according to U.S. News and World Report. Admittedly, one of the three smallest, but that gives you some very personalized attention. And the first distinguishing factor would point out is we hire each of our faculty. So he brought that wisdom with him, and he helped our student managed investment fund where students manage real money. And when you're part of the New York Stock Exchange, you learn that skill very deeply. So the other thing is there are intersections with applied learning. So each of our incoming students works on an entrepreneurial project in their first year. And also an emphasis on mentoring. Each of the students, Mark Lewis, the dean, is their personal mentor to encourage them to get active on LinkedIn, to start building their network, and basically their board of advisors. We do a Shark Tank competition, so it's got a very entrepreneurial feel to it. And then giving back to the community. We also have an MBA program, and students can stay for a fifth year to get that MBA degree, pair it with another degree in another field. And if you're interested in taking out 1 year from your college or higher ed studies, you can also do the 3+2 option, where if you sequence the courses correctly, you end up with 2 degrees in only 5 years. And Mark Lewis will work with you in that regard.
And and we've spoken about this before with other pieces of your academia in to put 2 majors together, to put a major and a minor together, and to not only be an affordable university, but to have an affordable system where you can learn a lot of different things within a shorter period of time, save some money, and at the same time challenge yourself. And just what the College of Business, in your opinion, does at Alfred University to continue that theme that you have, where you can have this wealth of knowledge and not have to worry about the ever-growing world of student debt.
And the biggest cost of going to college, Dan, is your time, because you're giving up the opportunity to earn money during that period. It's not tuition, it's not housing, but it's the value of your time. So if we can expedite matters for you, get you 2 degrees in 1 or 2 years, shorter time period, that's a huge benefit that you'll be able to capitalize on from our school. And then just the who's who list of alums that have been produced by this small unit. We have an alum who's the CEO of Voya Financial in Manhattan. They're a Fortune 270. Another one until 2 years ago when he retired was the CFO of AutoZone in Memphis, Tennessee. And he's now a member of our board of trustees and chairs our finance committee. Another one, she was the chief marketing officer for Coca-Cola down in Atlanta, now runs a major grocery chain out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And then a fourth is from Skinneapolis. After retire at the age of 60 at the Big Four accounting consulting firm PwC, she ran the entire Northeast for that Big Four firm, and was commuting weekly from Skinneapolis to Manhattan, where she was headquartered.
Yeah, and when you speak on the alumni that you have at Alfred University, it's really in any nook or cranny that we've gone to within the Saxons, you find not just somebody who, 1 or 2 people that may have done something, but it's so many different alumni that you have across so many different pieces of the school. What does that say about Alfred University, that there's this consistency in challenging themselves, there's this consistency in where they are in their fields, that they're at the forefront of it, that they're a part of huge things and groundbreaking pieces? I mean, in the College of Business and in general, every alum that we've spoken about with Alfred University has had such an integral part in things that are affecting today's world, today's technology, today's medicine, today's business. And I would love to go a little bit deeper into what is the secret sauce of Alfred University that you attract such incredible alumni?
Great question, Dan. And it comes back to the 3 key differentiators of our university. Number 1, inclusivity. So this openness to people having a wide variety of different backgrounds that you'll be rubbing shoulders with, working on projects with, different perspectives on life, different aspirations professionally and personally. Number two, the intersections, just the ways to mix and match. So for those in athletics, we have a sports management minor. If you're interested in healthcare, you can combine it with a healthcare planning and management minor. We just added an equine business management because we have some wonderful teams in our equestrian program, but there are students that are interested in managing in the equine business, and you get that opportunity. Or the intersection with that remaining year and getting the MBA, which all of our students can avail themselves of. And then the last thing is mentoring. It's hard to hide in our place. So if you're not getting a concept, Mark Lewis and his College of Business faculty will realize it, and will try to figure out a different way to convey that concept so it clicks with you. And that's something consistent across this commitment to mentoring, whether you're art and
Alfred, it's essentially, Alfred being another parent, right? Another guardian, because we're seeing these kids be raised to grow and evolve and to learn. And as they move forward, do you feel that? I mean, do you feel that with yourself as well as with the staff at Alfred University, that when you see the alumni have so much success and to be doing so many wonderful things, is it that proud parent type of feel and type of atmosphere to say, like, wow, we knew them when they came in, and they're a budding young freshman, their eyes are wide open, they're getting to learn everything, they're 17 years old, and now we see them at 21, at 25, at 35, at 65, just really just making such an impact on the world. Do you get a sense for that appreciation as almost another parent or another guardian just watching the kids grow up?
Completely, Dan. And there's this old saying, you're just as happy as your least happy child. So in our case, we're pretty happy parents given where the alums have gone and we're current students. I'll send you a link. Got a chance to interview one of our top seniors in our ceramic art museum. And she joined us in fall 2020. Came from a big school in Philadelphia that it wasn't working. Two of her intersections are physics and glass blowing, and she couldn't make that work at the big school. So she researched what schools both have that program and allow you to mix and match in that way. And we rose to the top of the list. And every time I meet this young woman, it's just more amazing about her and where her path will take her. I would run into her in the fall 2020 when she first transferred. Another of her intersects music. She's a very accomplished singer, so you'd see her out in the quad preparing to do her musical performances. She's been part of our dance performances since she joined us in that fall, either solo or group performances. And when Peter Cuneo, our Marvel Entertainment alum, came to campus, she was the one that dressed up as Spidey and play acted with him as part of it. And what I found out in this interview is over the summer, a couple of her other intersections, she went to Florence to study art. Along the way, got to go to Murano and Venice to blow glass, to Paris to learn a little bit more about sculpting. She's kept a journal since she was 6 years old when her parents divorced. A teacher said it'd be good to do that to keep you grounded. And daily she writes. And the kicker was that on the side, not required for any of the classes, this woman's reading Ovid, the ancient Roman poet, whose heroes have been much important creations. And this year she'll be applying for a Fulbright to go to Paris, France, after she graduates in the spring. And there she wants to write a book targeted for girls that each of the chapters recounts the life of a pioneer woman in a different field so that parents can read and thereby inspire their daughters to the stars they can reach for.
Yeah, and when you mention that, like you said, when you're inspired by something and inspired to do something and you have that talent and that drive, that I love her story, because what did you just say? She's educating herself, she's putting herself out there, she's learning different things and saying, why isn't there an emphasis on women here? Why isn't there an emphasis on what they've achieved? So I'm a little girl, I'm reading it and I'm not seeing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something that other little girls can read and they can enjoy it, and little boys can read and they can enjoy and see, the tremendous impact that women have had in this area or that area. I love the reality that some people live in when they say, my reality is not exactly what I want it to be, so I'm not only going to create a new reality that's better, but I'm going to create it for somebody else. And if I didn't have this as a kid, I'm going to make sure that the kids coming up after me have that. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I took out of what you just said is instead of just complaining and saying, I wish I had that, they're turning around and saying, I'm going to create that so that someone else will never say, I wish I had that.
I forget whether it was Steve Jobs or somebody else, but the saying that the best way to predict the future is to create it. So taking it upon yourself, you're not stuck. We have the ability to shape a better future.
Yeah, and I love that. And in shaping a better future, you always say that there's nothing closer to the fountain of youth than to do the job that you do as the president of Alfred University. In shaping the future, day to day, what does that look like to you? What does that feel like for you? How do you connect yourself to the fountain of youth on a day-to-day basis at Alfred?
Um, President Lincoln said that he liked to take public baths to gauge what people in the country were feeling. Yeah. And probably the central role is the connections. I've found in my own life that the stuff I'm proudest of was generally buried somewhere in the organization I was part of, a faculty member, a student, an alum. And if you can run a system where people are willing to share their ideas, and then your job, you can't pursue them all, is to sift through them and coordinate which ones are we going to focus on. And then how do we work together if we've locked into those and we buy into that these are the 1, 2, 3 best ideas, then let's bring them to life. And so that's the beauty, because you interact with so many people with bright ideas, and how do you keep them growing as much in the same direction for the greater benefit of the entire community.
Yeah, and here with the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, in our Presidential Perspective exclusive segment in our multimedia marketing partnership with Alfred University here on Wake Up Call and with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. When you said, when you brought up Steve Jobs and about the best way to predict the future is to create it in that daily life, in connecting with the fountain of youth and working on creating a positive future, how would you define, and we'll talk about this more in a future presidential perspective because I really want to break it down more, but defining what it means to be the president of a university, because everybody tackles that differently as president of a college or a university. Some people stay in an ivory tower and they lock the door and they make decisions, and other people take public baths, like you say, and involve themselves in the community itself. So how do you truly define what it means to be a president as kind of a nice foreshadowing of a conversation we will be having?
Yes, it's a great question. How do you serve the community? Ultimately, it's about servant leadership and making sure people feel heard if they own it. There's that old saying that people do not wash rental cars; they wash cars that they own. So the more we can promote a sense of ownership among the students, among the alums, it will be a more impactful organization, and providing people that opportunity to be heard, to be engaged. So the rest of the day will be a series of meetings, whether it's with the management team or a student group, some alums, and all of those are opportunities to test out ideas, what's working. And not everything works. There are things that on paper, like an entrepreneurial venture that a business student may work, and you find it fails miserably. My first administrative job was at USC in Los Angeles. And I'm a loyal American Airlines flyer. And when you fly a lot on them, they give you these certificates, attaboy, attagirl, that you can give to a flight attendant or a pilot or customer service agent. And I thought it would be great. We can replicate this and bring it to the business school there and have each of the students have 4 of these certificates that they can give to a staff member or faculty member. So on paper, it was a great idea. It failed disastrously. We had to curtail it because the flaw in the idea was certain staff interfaced more with students and were piling up more of these certificates, whereas others were more behind the scenes and were starting to get pissed off because they didn't have the opportunity to interface. So what looks good on paper doesn't always work, and you just have to own it and learn from it and then move on to the next opportunity.
Yeah, and I think trial and error, right, is the way to do things. And to bring it all the way back to the College of Business, that's what you learn in business is different avenues that you take, different things that work. They might work for a certain amount of time, but you have to be able to ad-lib, to grow, and to be willing to listen to other ideas and see how you can become better. They say that when you're alive, you're not truly alive when you're living unless you continue to learn and be open to the opportunity to gain knowledge and gain wisdom. That's what truly keeps you young. It's what keeps your mind working, and there's so much good that can come from that. So as the business students and all of the students at Alfred University continue on here early on in our fall semester, I'm excited to see what is coming next. Is there anything that you'd like to share about Alfred as to what is happening on campus or what is to come that you'd like people to know about?
We've got homecoming coming up in 2 weeks against Mooresville State. So we're looking forward to a bunch of alums, families coming. It'll be a mentoring opportunity. We've got a prominent alum to speak to students interested in public policy, government positions. Tours of different aspects of campus, and the foliage is spectacular. Our women's team in tennis continues its undefeated streak. One of the top players from Ukraine, a College of Business student. She's also managing our radio station. It's an intersection of hers, but it's been a joy to watch her, and we'll see how the matches continue to play out the rest of the season. But fall's a special time of year in upstate New York. We're just starting to turn the corner and peak foliage season, and looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful things happening at Alfred, and definitely campus is going to continue to show that beauty and that majesty as we head into the fall and get to see all those leaves change. Mark, as always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your presidential perspective, and I appreciate your wealth of knowledge. The thing beyond probably the thing that I enjoy the most about our interactions is that you make people feel that they matter and that they're important and that you're engaged with them because you listen and you retain information, which is something that I think is an art in today's world that not a lot of people do. Beyond that is the fact that you are able to just share in so many different worlds and bring them together, so that listening, that retaining of information, and then connecting people together and watching things grow. It says a lot about your character, the way that you handle your leadership, and it's one of the things that definitely drew me into Alfred University. So I can't thank you enough for your great listening ability, your care, your concern, your attention to detail, and the fact that you can recall and pick things up. I never see you with note cards. I never see you looking at something and then giving me that information. And the fact that you can do that means that you remember it because you care and it's important to you. So that top of mind awareness really makes you a special leader. And I want to say thank you for that.
And thank you for your partnership. There's that old saying, there's a reason we're given 2 ears and only one mouth, and using each appropriately. Both are part of communication. And at their best, universities are repositories of knowledge. When you look at institutions that have been around at least 500 years, over 95% are universities. And the secret sauce in general in higher ed is we're really good at our best at acquiring, building on knowledge that other species have to do it through DNA mutations. In our case, we have the ability through learning to remember what hasn't worked or to try new variants. And AI nowadays, they're professors that are harnessing it, whether it's to test out novel ways to prevent disease, what works, what doesn't work. Or in the case of entrepreneurship, if you want to start for whatever reason, a stationery store in Syracuse, could use AI to ask a question: what are the 50 best ideas for a stationery store to ideate, and then to narrow down that search even further based on what you find. So bullish on the future, even though everything has its challenges, as does AI, but it also has some great potency.
That coming here from the president of Alfred University. In the presidential perspective, Mark Zupan. Mark, as always, I appreciate your time and I value it, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Likewise, Dan. Have a good rest of the week.
You too. Coming here from Mark Zupan once again here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. I want to thank Mark for being a part of the show, and I want to thank the Alfred University Saxons for connecting with us here every single week and all throughout the year in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break, and we'll wrap up the show right after this as we start you off on a Monday on, believe it or not, the last week of September. It's crazy season soon. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your premier sports card shop. Open 7 days a week for you, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Make sure you head out to GG Cards and Breaks for singles, slabs, aka graded cards, and of course you could find your packs and your boxes. There are different pieces that can come in every single day because they buy, sell, trade. So, and they're always bringing in shipments. You never know what's going to be at GG Cards and Breaks, and you'll have the opportunity to jump in there right away and find something on a Monday and then maybe something different on a Tuesday. That's why you got to keep coming in to GG Cards and Breaks. Same hobby, new memories, and they are created with a wonderful staff that starts with Josh and Anthony and continues on with Alex and Joel and just everybody at GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They brought the kid back in me, even more so when it comes to sports cards, and I find myself every single day wanting to go over there, and that is a testament to how they treat people and to the amazing product they have and their customer service, which goes above and beyond. Head to GG Cards and Breaks today, right off of Teal Ave on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you, or you could say DT sent me in if that's easier for you to remember. With that being said, I want to thank you for being a part of today's broadcast as we're on the road in our second home in the great state of Florida. I want to thank Murph for being a part of DT and Murphy every Monday. And, of course, I want to thank Alfred University and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership and having President Mark Zupan join us live today to speak on the College of Business and so much more, including the great opportunities that they have at Alfred University and the care and concern that he has as a president. So I definitely appreciate that very, very much. You can find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com worldwide, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, you could search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Make sure you go there today. Follow, subscribe, do all the good stuff. It's free to do. So make sure that on your favorite podcasting platform, you search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and join us on there. A big time thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, where you can get My Sunday, the DT Dolphin, only available at Carvel DeWitt. No other Carvel franchise or any ice cream parlor anywhere in the world, exclusively at Carvel, down the road from Lemoyne. My DT Dolphin is there for your enjoyment. It is mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for Lemoyne, hot fudge, whipped cream, a cherry, green and gold sprinkles for Lemoyne, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream because that is the wonderful mascot of the Lemoyne College. So make sure you go and get your DT Dolphin today, right down the road from Lemoyne College on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York at Carvel DeWitt. Of course, Mother's Cupboard has my own sandwich, the Cuse McMother. I just got it a few days ago in my wonderful From Mother's Cupboard to Table conversation with Jason Leone, the head coach of the Oswego State Lakers men's basketball team. You can go back and watch that conversation on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT, and by subscribing to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcallDT. Get your Cuse McMother, break bread at Mother's Cupboard 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily. The Cuse McMother is my spin on the breakfast sandwich, available all of their hours from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily at Mother's Cupboard, where you can get on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and eat it with syrup. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Great Lakes Honda City, 317 at Montgomery Street, open Tuesday through Saturday for a fantastic dining experience you won't find anywhere else at 317 at Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant in downtown Syracuse, and it is the exclusive home of Downtown with Dan, our video taste testing series of the awesome creations in the kitchen that come from the mind of Joel Carpenter and his team. Avicoli's, as well as Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, PB&J's, Lunchbox, and of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partners of yours. Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. You can catch your Dolphins every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. First and third Wednesday, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, and future Dolphins, as well as alumni. Find it all by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And as always, Fins way up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can hang out with your Bobcats every single month on Wake Up Call in the Bobcat Buzz with student athletes, coaches, and administration, joining me throughout the year to tell the incredible, unique story of Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, a place where you could continue your education and have an opportunity to get back on the fields and courts of life. So make sure you get in touch with Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse by going to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. You can also search Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse to enroll as a student for those students and student athletes. And we can continue to give you those incredible stories thanks to the wonderful coaches and student athletes in men's and women's soccer, coming up in men's and women's basketball, and having in the spring baseball and, of course, esports. All of our content is available on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe. And for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Go Bobcat Nation. The Alfred University Saxons are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can find the Saxons every Monday during Saxon time, like today, at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The first and third Monday of each month, Presidential Perspective with the President Mark Zupan, like we did today in the College of Business, and Alumni Conversation. And you can find the Saxon Spotlight with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni happening on the second and fourth Monday of each month. All of our Saxon content is available by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and clicking on all of our Saxon content there with the Alfred U. Saxons playlist on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Make sure to click subscribe. For more information, go to gosaxons.com, and as the website tells you, go Saxons. With that being said, here from the great state of Florida, our second home and hub of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', head to the snack capital of CNY today by getting out to Ma and Paz on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And I love the fact that so many of you have gone out there and seen them at events, called them for your events and your fundraisers, and of course, gone to their wonderful brick and mortar on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. For now, for Brendan Murphy of DT and Murphy, and for the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, I bid you adieu. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and make sure you go back and watch a wonderful opportunity that I had over the weekend to be the master of ceremony for the 2023 Gold Wave Lemoyne Dolphin Hall of Fame induction. I want to give a special thank you again, and you can see the videos. I want to thank Jeff Justice, the graduating class of 2004, who was inducted as a member of the baseball team. I want to thank Amanda Keegan Montez, who was a graduating class of 2007 and a member of the women's lacrosse team at Lemoyne. And a big time thank you as well to Michael McDonald, graduating class of 2008 and a member of the men's lacrosse team, as well as the 2009 men's soccer team, for all being inducted into the 2023 Gold Wave Lemoyne Dolphins Hall of Fame. Don't miss that video. I'll share it on social media. And as I always leave you, God bless, no stress, do your best. And even though I'm leaving the live feed, we're never truly gone. Available to you 24/7 and always praying for you. Have a great day.